What's going on, everyone? Desktops Gaming here. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue on with CES Day 2 of 2021 here. Again, like we mentioned in the first video, it's all digital this year. On the second day, the main keynote we wanted to check out was AMD. While not anything too crazy, they did introduce their new mobile series processors, both an HX series and I believe the HS series, and a couple different SKUs covering everything from last generation Zen 2 to most of them being the next generation Zen 3, and kind of how they were going to implement them into new mobile platforms, laptop, ultralights, things like that. So let's go ahead and jump in and go over those. All right, so while they did announce a few of the things at the keynote, the main thing we were concerned about was the new mobile series processors they put out. Like I said, just going over those here. Like I said, they're coming out with the new 5000 series set of processors to kind of compete with what Intel has been putting on the market with their new 11 series for their mobile desktop platform as well. Like I said, these like I said, are still Zen 3, 7 nanometer. Like I said, they're touting them as the first 8-core processor for mobile, which is true. Like I said, Intel's is still 4-core, 8-thread. So like I said, it'll be the first for ultra thins and stuff like that. They did some comparisons kind of across the board of different things, from gaming to content creation, video encoding, different office applications, things like that. So like I said, we have everything from some PC Mark benchmarks here, some Premiere encoding, some Blender rendering and everything like that as well. And of course, throughout all of these, again, take benchmarks with a grain of salt, especially when they're coming straight from the manufacturer themselves. So the first one they kind of touched on was the 5800U. It's an 8-core, 16-thread part with a 4.4 gigahertz max boost. Like I said, they're showing some general usage time hours and some movie playback time hours for just regular use before you get into that. And then they kind of talked about their higher performance HX series processors. It's also Zen 3 with a higher thermal design power, higher TDP, and of course these are unlocked for overclocking. The main two they touched on here was their highest end 5900HX and the 5980HX. The 5900HX has its 8-core 16-thread up to 4.6 on boost there, 20 megabytes L2 and L3 cache, and 45 watt TDP kind of plus for overclocking there. And then the higher end 5980HX, like I said, also 8-core 16-thread up to 4.8 gigahertz boost, and the same on cache and TDP range. Like I said, they showed a little bit of a gaming demo showing some Horizon Zero Dawn, touting 100 plus frames per second at 1080p on high settings. Again, grain of salt here for these benchmarks that they're showing. Like I said, they did kind of get into some single core performance as well. Like I said, with comparing it to the 10980 HK to the 5900HX, showing 13% in single core performance with Cinebench R20. Like I said, they showed some Passmark as well as 3D Firestrike physics scores ranging at 13, 19, and 35% there. Like I said, they kind of talked about a little bit of working with new partners, your typical manufacturers of different ultralights and laptops, from Acer to HP, Lenovo, Asus, all of those guys. And we're talking about doing with the 5000 series up to 150 different mobile systems. When they do launch these new generation, which is nice. It'll give something for Intel to finally have to compete against in this space, just kind of allowing AMD to take more market share of what Intel has been doing the past couple of years, not only in the DIY PC space, but in the broader mobile desktop market for laptops and ultralights, and as well as their server stuff too. Like I said, and they're going to start being available in February. Again, with the way 2020 went and with the way 2021 is going on still having some shortages, I would expect to see the higher end laptops and ultrabooks kind of going first, and then they'll start skewing down from there. So I would expect that to begin with. But diving into the H series, for the 5000 series, they're launching that's going to be Zen 3, the R9 5980HX, and then the HS version. And basically these are just different clock speeds out of the box. And then for their kind of moving on down there, you have the 5980HX, 5980HS, 5900HX, and so on down. Like I said, I'll put the chart up here where you guys can see kind of what they're looking at here. And then there were two that were part of their Zen 2 architecture in the U series. As you can see here, compared to last generation, and basically showing the difference in 4,000 to 5,000 of what's going to be available there. And then they talked about a little bit of performance difference in multiprocessor performance, comparing it to their last generation here. And like I said, we have the chart here basically from the 5300U all the way up to the 50-100U. Like I said, and this is for their thin and light notebooks. And they also showed some single thread performance scaling, comparing it to last generation as well. And then they kind of talked about the higher end 5900HX, going over single core performance overall and game physics performance from Cinebench to Passmark to doing Firestrike physics scores, comparing it to some of Intel's mobile platforms. Like I said, they showed some benchmarks here, and for the third time I believe now. Again, grain of salt when it comes to anything when it does to these benchmarks, and they're shown by the manufacturer. Like I said, again, always wait for independent testing here. But anyway, that about wraps it up on the AMD keynote, or as far as the main things we want to talk about here. Of course, they spoke with some other industry leaders when it comes to the ones moving into the space. So for different manufacturers, they were talking to Microsoft and HP and all those guys about implementing new laptops and ultralights, things like that. So the main takeaway was them going over the new mobile platform. So like I said, we'll leave you guys can kind of go back and look at the different slides we're going to leave in here, so you can check out what their SKU is going to be. It was pretty impressive. I believe 8 overall new mobile processors, and it's supposedly coming to 150 new mobile platforms and thinner ultralights and laptops and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely wouldn't mind getting a new laptop like that. Like I said, I actually haven't gotten a new laptop in a while. It would be nice to see what its creative performance could be compared to having a full desktop here for what we do in particular, like so when it comes to editing these videos down and content creation and things of that nature, and of course gaming as well. Like I said, we'll definitely see what they pair with these in these ultralights and portable laptops, like I said, compared to last generation. Like I said, I am happy to see them starting to move onto the market more to be able to compete with Intel in this space. Again, like I said, not only in the DIY PC space, which compared to the broad global market, that's a smaller part of the market compared to the more mainstream laptops, and in the server space, that's where most of Intel's share is. And it's cool to see AMD encroaching on that. Not to just be a fanboy, I do have AMD systems, but competition is always good for everyone because it means we get better stuff at typically lower prices and hopefully better availability. But like I said, time will tell on that. But that about wraps it up for our coverage of AMD, their AMD keynote there. I believe they've posted it live now, so you guys can go check that out if you want to see more in depth about that. Like I said, there are other channels there going over the exact specs. Like I said, I just want to do a brief overview of kind of what they talked about and what they were expecting. But like I said, that about wraps it up. Like I said, we will come back if we see any other coverage or anything else come out about Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, or anything we kind of see looks cool. So appreciate you guys for checking us out on the CES 2021. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Take it easy.